Hello, I'm Adam J. Morgan, and welcome to Late Night Ghost Stories. This week we've got Mandy with us, who's got some very interesting stories to tell, and we've been chatting by message, and she's got, something strange is happening, isn't that right, Mandy?
It is. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I've got a bit of a sore throat today, so I apologise for my husky voice.
You'll be absolutely fine. I know I sort of reached out to people on Facebook, and I mentioned that I'm doing this show and I wanted to find out if anyone had any sort of real life experiences. And then you dropped me a message. I think I asked you to sort of DM me because you said, "Oh, I've got something happening."
I did, yep.
So before we go into that, can you give me a little bit of background on you yourself?
Yes, so obviously my name's Mandy and I live in Manchester, and I currently own a drama school, so I do some acting and things myself. Obviously that's absolutely nothing to do with this. This is a real life story. This isn't scripted, this isn't improv at all. This is completely real life that has happened to me. I currently live with my husband and little girl who's 7, and yeah, there's not a hell of a lot to really say, to be honest. My life's pretty boring during the day, unless I'm working and teaching. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being on the show, and I'm really happy I was invited on.
Oh, that's amazing. So going back to that, when did you first experience all this? When did it all start for you?
So it was actually a couple of years ago, and it was just before my auntie passed away. So it was the Christmas period, and the snow was falling. We were taking some pictures outside, just having a bit of a laugh, really. And it started when we actually took one of the pictures in the garden. And when we looked back at the picture, there seemed to be a lot of smoke around my mum on one of the pictures, which was really odd. And when we zoomed in, we could see faces, which we'd never seen before, and it was quite spooky. And then we looked at the second picture that we took, and there was actually a little green orb just above her head. And in the next picture, it was going away. So it was almost like a step by step of this thing coming around her and then leaving. And we have actually taken the picture to somebody recently just to ask them what it could be. And they did say it looks like a lot of spirits, but it's just one. So the man knew what he was talking about, and he said he had seen it before, which then got us a little bit spooked anyway. So we're like, oh, right, okay. So this was a couple of years ago. Then it carried on recently, which we weren't really aware of, because I don't live with my mum. She lives a couple of doors down with my dad. And she said, there's something really weird going on. The dog won't go in the living room. He's kind of stopping at the door. He's looking and staring at certain places in the living room. And we couldn't quite understand it. Even when we were feeding him or we were kind of coaxing him in with treats, he would not go. It was like when you take your dog on a walk and you're trying to pull them by the lead and they're just absolutely adamant.
So just to go back a little bit. So how long have they had the dog?
So the dog was originally mine, actually. So we had him when I was pregnant. So it's 7 years ago.
Wow. So it's not a new. It's not like a puppy. It's not a new dog. So normally you're saying the dog would go into the living room with no issue, and so it's happened suddenly.
Suddenly, in the last few months.
Wow.
The dog's absolutely point blank refusing to go into that living room. Now, when these pictures happened, there is more to the picture story. We sadly lost my auntie the day after. So the pictures happened, and that was happening while my auntie was passing. So we don't exactly know the spot on time, but we got the phone call the day after that she had passed that night before, while we were taking the pictures. So it was the same time. So whether it was her saying goodbye or whether it was giving us that sign, we're not quite sure.
So you had no. So you were just out taking advantage that the snow was out, like most people do. Look, it's snowing. Here's some pictures of us for social media of us playing in the snow, and you had no idea. So, were you aware that your auntie was ill, if you don't mind me asking, or anything like that? So it was
No,
just...
she wasn't ill at all. She had fallen a couple of months earlier and she had an operation on her leg. So she had metal pins fitted. And a few weeks earlier, she was kind of saying, oh, these pins are a little bit weird. They're rattling when I'm in the bath and stuff. Anyway, nothing came of that at all. And then she passed away suddenly with a heart attack that we actually think might have been related to the leg operation that she had.
So it must have been a real sort of shock to you guys for this to happen, and very sad. But how do you feel about the pictures now on reflection?
To be honest, with what's happened recently and linking it to the pictures, I'm not as scared. I mean, my mum at first was really like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be in this house. Whereas I was more like, well, if it is her, it's quite comforting, because we were so close, like all of us, and I grew up with her. She was my auntie Maureen, and she'd come over for Christmas and things, which was also why it was weird, because she'd not been for quite a while because they moved a bit further away. But it was just a shock, and the pictures have given some reassurance at the same time. But then when we didn't hear anything since, it was like, right, she's resting now. So when it started again in the last few months, it's like, has she? Is she still with us? Is there still something that's unfinished?
So my obvious question, which I think I know what the answer will be, is, do you believe in ghosts or spirits?
I do, yes, to an extent. Now, don't get me wrong, I never did. I was one of the most sceptical people you'd ever meet. It was like, right, once you're gone, you're gone. That's it. It's just your body. You're gone. But now I've seen certain things for myself, and I've kind of been present for it. It does change a little bit, to the point where you're still trying to make excuses for it and say, no, it's not, that could have happened, or this could have happened, and you're trying to justify it. But when you get to a point where you can't justify it, do you start having to believe, kind of?
I totally believe in that, because I've done many sort of paranormal investigations. I've seen lots of stuff, and you sort of, certain people you'll mention it to and they'll just laugh at you and they'll be like, okay, whatever. But I do believe you have to see it for yourself. Even when we watch these paranormal shows, and you can see people and they're saying, oh yeah, I just felt I was touched, or I just saw that. Well, we as an audience at home, we can't feel that sensation. You're saying you've been touched on the shoulder or the back, or or stroked on the face, but we can't feel that sensation as a viewer. You have to just take it as face value. Now, I believe it's all about seeing for yourself. So, go along to a ghost hunt, but have an open mind about it, and you might experience something, and it changes. Like you say, you didn't believe before, but it is life-changing. Once you have that experience or that encounter, it is really life-changing.
It really is. And again, I was so sceptical, so I understand people out there that are probably sat there listening going, well, she does acting, she's completely just making
exactly. As soon as you mentioned you had a drama school, I'm thinking the listeners straight away are going to, wow, it's all, he's lucky to get an actress on here, sort of. Well, no, this is genuine. It's all walks of life.
It's genuine.
Yeah, all walks of life.
And I do have video proof as well of this, so it's not where I've got nothing to back it up. I actually went into the house last week because she was getting a little bit worried because the dog wouldn't go in and things started happening. She said, I'd lit a candle today and it didn't move, and then all of a sudden it was like someone was wafting past it and it was going absolutely crazy, this candle, and then it stopped again. So my brother's really into paranormal and stuff. He absolutely loves it, and he's got these bits of equipment that he's ordered online specifically for this, because he was like, I'm adamant that if you're saying this is happening, then I want to find out, I want to see. So he'd ordered all this equipment online and took it down, and we actually went down together, and he started just asking questions. Nothing was happening to begin with, and then he sat down and we just sat there for about half an hour, kept quiet, and then he asked a specific question, was, are you Auntie Maureen? Because my mum thought that that's who it could be. And the bar on this machine went from 0 all the way up to the red, and we was like, oh, it's doing something now.
This sounds like an EMF meter. So it should normally, it picks up electrical magnetic fields. Builders use them all the time. They used to use them to sort of locate cables and high voltage in the walls and stuff. Really useful. But then the paranormal field, quite a few years ago now, like maybe 20 plus years ago, thought, well, actually, if you're not near electrical cables or any sort of high energy, is it a spirit manipulating it? And we've used them on previous investigations, and you tend to find that if you ask for a response and you say, look, I've got a machine in front of me, can you try and manipulate, can you make the lights go up to, and they are good for getting a response. So it sounds like that your brother, whatever he's using, it does sound like an EMF meter, and you've asked for that response and you've got that response.
Yeah, and we got a couple of responses from there. Once we'd mentioned the name, we were started asking, did you live here, or do you remember this? And if you do, can you come to the light? Can you kind of make it light up a bit more? And they did. And then it was almost like the energy was running out as we'd gone on. So it started getting a bit lower and lower, and then it stopped.
How did it make you feel to have these kind of responses?
I don't know. It was a bit bold. It was, oh, I've missed her so much, and it kind of feels really nice that she could be here. But then on the other respect, it was like, oh my God, could this be real? And have you got like something from the other life in your house? I don't want to come in. But I don't know. It was really bizarre. It was a bizarre experience because, again, I'm not into it all. I don't understand it all. It's not something I've ever believed in. I always thought, oh God, you're a bit of a nut job if they're the sort of things that you're into. But now I've seen it myself, I'm like, actually, you're not.
And you had something else happen recently, haven't you? Because you mentioned that someone thought you had gone into the house and it wasn't you. Now, when I read that, I was like, wow, that is really, really creepy.
Yeah, so my dad's got dementia, sadly, and we have to go down and look after him. So me and my brother do take it in turns, and we're a very close family to the point where I will be there every morning for my brew and we'll check in. So we do just walk in. But this particular time was really weird because I got a phone call off my brother, and he said, have you just come down? I said, no, why? He said, it's really weird, the door's just opened and I saw a shadow, but then the door's shut again. And I thought it was you. And I thought, why is Mandy coming down? And she's not even said hi, she's just gone. So I said, no, I've not even been in. So it comes to light that the front door was actually locked, but the vestibule door is the door that opened. And he said, I promise you I would not be ringing you to ask if you'd been if I didn't think you had. He said, the vestibule door swung open behind me. I saw a quick shadow and it left, which is why I thought you'd kind of come in to check on Dad, not knowing I was here, and you've left because you've seen me. I said, I've not been in that house. So that's when it kind of started up again, where he wanted to come in with the machine and have a look because he'd seen it with his eyes as well.
That's really spooky, to be honest, to actually have a door locked and then a figure comes in. But obviously they didn't get quite, if it was you, you'd know straight away. But so they're just seeing something fleetingly in the corner of their eye, maybe, or.
Well, at first he wasn't even asking like because of the paranormal side. He was asking because he thought someone was breaking in. He thought someone had come in because my dad was on his own, and they've realised he was there and they've left. But then the door was locked, so we established straight away that couldn't have been the case.
How does that make you feel now?
I don't know. Again, I'm still in between with it all because I think it was impossible for it to happen, and my brother's now seen it as well. So it's not just us making something up where we've kind of seen one thing and then related everything else to it. It's been various people that have actually seen this happen as well.
How's the energy in the house? So when you go into the house, do you know, I don't know if you've ever been to a wake, but you walk in and the energy is just so negative, and it just feels, and it's not just because you know that you're going to be going to a funeral or you've been to a funeral and it's a horrible atmosphere.
It is a horrible atmosphere, I'm not going to lie.
So it's not...
And we've always said that, even before all this. My mum has always said, this is the most unlucky house. She's always said things like, oh, I'm sick of this house, I hate living here. My dad, now he's got dementia, keeps saying he wants to go home, to the point where it's not there, it's at his other home. He doesn't like it here, he hates it, he's always in a bad mood, and he keeps seeing his mum, and it's just really, really weird, because you don't know what to believe with a dementia patient. You think, well, he's going to say things like that anyway, but he's never spoke about his mum. They weren't close, it's not someone that he ever really thought about before, but now all of a sudden he's saying he's seeing her, and there's people in the house, and I've even got a video of him the other night actually walking round saying there were 2 people here, and I said, there's nobody here, Dad, nobody's been in the house, I promise. But he's staring at the lamp that we actually got out of my auntie's house, and I put that together the other day, because I said, where? And I'm looking, and I went, Mum, do you not realise that the lamp that stood in that corner there, it's like a really old antique lamp that we got from her house when she passed away. I said, you've got that in here, and now all this seems to be happening.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the spirits and the house and stuff, but do you know anything about the history of the house? Is it an old house? Is it a new build?
It's about 100 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, when we've looked, it was the 1900s, early 1900. So, yeah, it's 100-year-old now.
So do you know any of sort of history, previous owners? Has anyone else in the street had any sort of weird stuff happening?
I don't know. I've not actually looked into the history of the house, I'll be honest. It's probably something that would definitely be worth doing, though.
So do you ever sort of still stay at the house? Do you ever sort of, I mean, you mentioned this experience when you were alleged to have come in and you didn't actually go down the door. Was that in the day? Was that in the night?
So that was in the day. Both times were in the day. And then I went at the evening when my brother didn't come to that point. I went down on my own with my mum, and I asked it questions, and I've got it on video, and I literally scanned the room and I said, look, if it is you and you are here, just give us a sign, make the lamp flash on or anything, just flicker it. So I put the camera to the lamp, and next thing the lamp flickered, and we just went, ah, and ran straight out of the room. I was like, I'm not going in.
So has the lamp ever flickered before? You know, when you're not asking questions, is it ever sort of randomly done that?
No, that's the thing. And we've asked questions when we've kind of just been there and nothing's happened. But I literally just said, if you're here, please give us a sign. Just flicker the lamp. Put it on the lamp, and it flickered.
And that's classic horror. That's all black and white horror movie classic. The swirling fog, the lights flickering. But they do say that the spirits are alleged to manipulate electrics. It's an easy, using energy against energy is an easy way of communicating. So
yeah,
flicking lights or flashing lights is a classic sign of a spirit or a presence. You know, I can't say 100% that's what's happened on this occasion. It could be a faulty, you said yourself you put the lamp together, so you could have done, but it's a really...
I didn't put the lamp together, that's the thing.
Oh, have you had any sort of electrical issues in the past in the house?
Nothing. There's never been any issues at all.
So to you're asking for a response, and you've been given a response.
Yeah, because these things were only happening when I asked for a response. When I'm not doing anything or I'm just sat there, nothing, absolutely nothing.
It sounds like really, really sort of spooky. Is there anything else that's happened over the last few months?
So I'm trying to think what I've covered. So I've got that with the door, the lamp flickering, the photograph, the dog not entering.
Have you, to help you out a little bit, have you had other sort of visitors or friends or family come over, and have they sort of fed back anything, or do they generally sort of keep quiet and not give feedback on?
No, it's not something we've ever really asked that. I mean, I've told my friends and they've kind of laughed, and I've been like, I'm not telling you again. But nobody else seems to bother, because the quick visits, we don't get a lot of visits anymore with my dad being unwell. So it is just us. But the fact that all three of us, my mum is the biggest skeptic you would ever meet. Like, she thinks everyone's always talking nonsense with everything, and she doesn't believe things very easily. She's just always been like that. But now she's seen these things, she's like, oh, I don't like it. She did say that she was in my dad's room the other day, and she walked past the window because she'd just closed the window and things, and she felt a touch on her, and she was like, oh my God. And then she's one of them that, again, will justify. So she stood there going, maybe it was just the blind, actually.
I think
maybe
some people do that. I think some people do that, not because they don't believe. It's because they don't want to believe. They're more comfortable just thinking, oh my God, that doesn't, no, I can't deal with that. So let's just dismiss it. And a lot of people will dismiss paranormal stuff because they're maybe sort of frightened.
Yeah, I mean, she said that she's got a bit of comfort in it as well. So if nothing else has come out of it, it's kind of helped her to be at ease thinking that her sister's still there. So I don't think she minds as such about it anyway. It was more, why now, and what's changed for this to be happening now?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as you were telling me. It seems that you've had, like, for quite a few years, nothing really happened, except from, like you mentioned, if people have sort of felt a bit uneasy and it's a bit of a depressing place and you're not sure if people want to even be there. But all of a sudden, like, would you say it was about 2 years ago, or have I got that wrong?
So she passed away quite a while ago. It's about 6-7 years ago now.
And when do you feel this all began for you?
Again, around there, when after that happened, after that falls, because we've never noticed anything before. It's never been an issue. And that's why, since we've started communicating with it, it's got stronger.
Because you're giving a response, maybe?
Yeah, since we've done that, my mum only kind of started telling us a few months ago, and with the dog and things, and then we started looking out for it then. So then we started noticing. So then obviously my brother wanted to try and communicate, and since communicating, it's got worse.
Wow. Do you ever get any sort of nightmares or dreams about it all?
No, I wouldn't say I get any nightmares or dreams, because again, I don't live in the house, so it doesn't bother me. I go down and things, and I don't feel an issue because I'm not on my own in the house. But eventually, if anything ever happens with my dad, we're going to be taking over that house, so that might be a little bit different then.
So what I think that's maybe everything for now, but what I would love for you to do is sort of maybe ask some of the neighbours and ask anyone else who's been there, have you sort of noticed anything yourself that you haven't mentioned to us? And if you do get an opportunity as well to go back and ask more questions and take your EMF meter with you and stuff, I would absolutely love you to come back on the show and tell me what you've experienced. That would be amazing.
Definitely, because we have got the equipment now, so It's definitely something that we are going to do more of. So 100%, I'd love to come back on if we get any more.
Oh, that'd be amazing. So in a few episodes, I'm sure, maybe in a few weeks' time, I'll be asking you to come back on, and hopefully we're not stirring anything up. But I'm really interested now, especially if you get time as well to look into the history of the house and come back on the show and we can discuss that as well. Because
definitely,
we're assuming that it's because your auntie has sadly passed away, and that's been maybe the trigger, but it could well be that that's one of many reasons. The history of the house could be the root cause of it.
Yeah, because again, it might not even be her. That's the difference. You're asking it to communicate, and it's communicating, but is it communicating because it's answering that that's who it is, or is it communicating because it just wants to be known that it's there?
Yeah. Wow. Mandy, thank you so much for coming on the show and discussing this with us.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. You take care of yourself and sleep tight as well.
Oh, I will. I don't know about my mum.
All right, take care.
You too.